Hello, Madam,
Yeah.
Madam VP. Congratulations,
Thank
first of
you.
all. So I think I told you earlier that I saw the screener and I was so proud to
Yeah.
see my hometown of
Yeah.
Nueva Ecija. So I wanted to ask you how it all started for you, on this journey. What was your reaction when you first heard from Director Ramona that she wanted to do a documentary featuring your campaign?
Actually, it wasn't very clear to us that it would be a documentary of the campaign. Ramona was just told us that she wanted to follow us around because she wanted to do a companion film for A Thousand Cuts. So we were hesitant at first because we felt it might be intrusive. But we trusted Ramona, and we are happy that we did. So she was there day one of the campaign when I announced my intent to run for the for the presidency, and she was there until the very last. That was 8 months of going around the country.
Yeah, it sounds exciting, and I can't wait for everybody to see the film. The subject matter. It started with the interactions that you had with President Duterte. There's a lot of misogynistic remarks and insults. I just feel for you, and also I was just curious, how did that make you feel, and what was your takeaway from that experience?
It was a very difficult time. From the get-go, I felt that as vice president, I should be supportive of the president. So at first, I was trying to balance. I can't be very sensitive of the many things that he has been doing and telling people about me, because I was there to perform my task as vice president. But I also had to set boundaries. Like, there's one scene there where he was making a comment about my legs by wearing short skirts, or that I had a boyfriend. I tried to put up a brave smile, and because we were in front of many people, but I issued a statement after that I wasn't tolerating those kinds of remarks. So it was like that the entire 6 years that I was vice president. When the killing started to happen because of the drug war, I was part of the cabinet at that time, and I knew that I was the alter ego of the president. So I was there for the president. But when the killing started, I knew that I had to be vocal of my opposition against the killings, and that cost me my cabinet seat. But I had to do it. So there were a lot of things that I can be quiet about, but there were also some things that I cannot be quiet about. And that sort of worsened my relations with the president, because he felt that as vice president, it was my obligation to be supportive of him. It was difficult. It was difficult, but we have managed to pull through, and we were able to convert the office of the vice president from a mere ceremonial post into an advocacy-centered office. This was despite the treatment that I received from the president, and despite being at the receiving end of so much disinformation and misogyny.
Yeah, it was a tough thing to watch, but you showed so much courage. So it's such an inspiration, and thank you for your leadership. And so I guess my question for you now that we're here at the premiere of And So It Begins with filmmaker Ramona, why do you think it's important to tell this story in this age of disinformation?
When I first, when disinformation, when fake news started, when I started being at the receiving end of fake news by 2016, I didn't know it was going to be this big. That's why I wasn't able to respond to it in the manner that I should have. So I've learned many lessons along the way. When we finally started to respond to all the narratives that were out there, it was too late because of how social media works. It works on algorithms, and even if we started fact checking already, but our fact checking was, it was only within the echo chamber. Again, because of how social media works. And with this film, the lessons are there. The lessons are there how this information doesn't just damage the person at the receiving end of it, but tramples our democracy. And over the years, it has this information affected the outcome of the elections. But we started something big during the campaign. That's why it's entitled "And So It Begins," because finally there's pushback from people. Even if we lost the elections, we our accomplishments as a movement is something that we can build onto. And with this movie, I hope Filipinos realize, and not just Filipinos, but it's happening all over the world. That they learn the lessons that we have learned from the more than 6 years that we have been bombarded by disinformation, and learn how to deal with it.
Absolutely. And I think that's what we are looking forward to watching. I guess the other question I want to ask you, Madam, is now that we're almost into the second year of President Bongbong Marcos's presidency, how would you describe the current political climate as it relates to the fight for democracy and also the freedom of the press?
The fight continues. I do not want to make judgments in the sense that the current administration has been there for just over a year. A lot of people feel that it's sort of a relief from the 6 years of the Duterte administration. It's not the ideal, it's not perfect, but the lesson really from the film is that life goes on after the elections, and we have battles to fight. We still have a lot of battles to fight as far as disinformation is concerned, even with a new administration. And we should continue being on our toes so that the worst things that happened to us in the last 6 years won't happen again.
Yeah, absolutely. Ma'am, I have to ask you this question. In terms of your political career, I know that right now you're currently working on your non-profit NGO, which is great to alleviate the poverty. What can you talk about your political aspiration? Are you still interested in running for president in the next election?
Even when I ran for Congress, and when I ran for the vice presidency, and when I ran for the presidency, that wasn't intentional. It was really realizing that there was a need for me to fill. So I'm not closing doors on running in the future for whatever post, but I feel like it doesn't you don't plan for it. You don't plan for it in the sense that I'm even after 9 years of being in government, I don't consider myself a politician still. I feel like my world is really out of government, because I'm the most comfortable doing what I'm doing now, development work. It's my life's work before my husband died and before I was thrust into the political world. So I'm not closing doors, but I'm also okay doing what I'm doing now the rest of my life.
That's great. And you are doing amazing things. So congratulations. And one last question for you, ma'am. During your term as 6 years as vice president and even in Congress, what were some of the things you've learned about the Filipino people?
That Filipinos are very hopeful people. That despite the difficulties that we go through, we see light in a vast sea of darkness, and that's huge. That's huge in the sense that it gives us a lot of hope and inspiration to find light in the as I've said, in the darkness that we are in now. I am very hopeful because that hope is there, and I've labeled it defiant hope during the last campaign. And I think that's a good thing about Filipinos. Some say we're resilient to a point, but I don't think that's it. I think it's really finding light in the most difficult moments.
Such a great message about finding light in the most difficult moment. Thank you for your time, Madam Vice President. Congratulations.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, it's good to meet
Thank
you.
you.
Have fun.
Thank you.
Okay, bye bye.